But my next guest argues this is not about Obama. It's not even about politics. It is about needing a total overhaul of society. And Peter Joseph, filmmaker and founder of the Zeitgeist movement, coming off of his inaugural Zeitgeist Media Festival, he is here to talk about his solutions. Thank you for being here. It's nice to see you. So to start out,
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You argue the solutions to social problems are not politics. What exactly are the solutions called for by the Zeitgeist movement?
Well, to understand the solutions, you really have to understand what the problems are. In the broad view, what we're faced with right now is basically the end of a paradigm with respect to our social system. It's not ending because of some bad policy or some political malfeasance or any kind of economic issue. It's ending because it can no longer sustain itself by the natural evolution of human society, the natural evolution of technology, and the inherent mechanisms that define this system, which are slowly growing out of control like a cancer. For example, we have a debt-based currency system. Interest is charged on the money that's loaned. That does not exist outright in the money supply. That, as its very core seed, is really why you see these sovereign debt defaults, corporate debt defaults, personal debt defaults across the world. We have $60 trillion of private and public debt in America alone. You can do the math on how much that is per person. It's only going to grow as well, and this is just the nature of this system. We have an unemployment crisis, which is really driven by technology. Technological unemployment has been the major attribute that has moved people from sector to sector. The illusion of most economists is they say, oh, well, technology is actually creating jobs. That's actually a convoluted logic. What happens is, and you can see this, by the way, if you track the Industrial Revolution and all the way to the modern point. You see this very clearly. But what happens is we start off with a certain sector, everyone's employed, technology comes in, displaces human labor, and slowly other sectors emerge, usually on the basis of other technologies. So it's a natural consequence, but it actually isn't a resolution. It actually isn't creating anything. What we're going to end up with is a necessity to have everyone either a lawyer or everyone either working in the entertainment industry, because there's no way you're going to have a manufacturing sector with people actually employed. There's no way you're going to have a service sector with people actually employed, because the cost efficiency that's enabled by technology, it overrides the need for human labor. What happened in Bank of America recently? They just laid off 40,000 people. Do they understand what they're doing?
Well,
they're actually laying off the...
Sorry,
go ahead.
I just want to get in here to kind of continue the conversation.
Sure.
Because how do you separate out, I hear what you're saying about technology and about the entertainment industry. I've lived in LA. But I do want to know how you can separate out all of the jobs that we've seen go overseas to countries like China, and all of the people we've seen move into a financial system that people say is overbanked in this country. I mean, there has been a transition in industries and jobs.
Oh, well, there absolutely have been. But the question is, when you have 96% of basically the human population, most of the Western, which has the majority of the labor, working in the service sector, which is now being replaced by automated kiosks and many other advanced technological mediums, where is the next sector? I want to point out that I look at this on a global scale. I'm not interested in American unemployment. I'm not interested in any country's specifics, because it's one society, it's one world, it's one economy. The question to be asked is, why will the majority of people eventually be unemployed on the planet? And that's because of technology. You can forget about outsourcing and all of that. The only thing to learn from that is that industry and its prime motivation to corporation shareholders is to make sure that they maintain a profit. So displacing human labor because of the cost efficiency enabled by technological automation is the contradiction of collapse of capitalism, that many economic theorists have talked about for the past 100 years, including John Maynard Keynes.
Right.
This is an inevitable evolution, and it's not going to stop.
So you're saying the problem is capitalism. What are you saying is the solution?
Well, the solution is a completely different reordering of how we actually engage materials, how we create production, and how people actually contribute to society. If you recognize this reality that the market system as we know it, which is the bedrock of the capitalist free enterprise system, whatever you want to call it, we recognize this phenomenon is phasing out. And mark my words, the jobs are not coming back across the board. They can't, because the system will not label it by its inherent logic. When you realize this, you start to open your mind up. You think to yourself, well, if technology can provide all of these tools to enhance production, by the way, just as a throw in here, technological unemployment is inverse to productivity across the world, which means the less people we have working in industry, the more we apply technology, the more production capabilities we actually have, which is amazing. So what this means is that we can use technology, we can free ourselves, create an entirely different social system based on maximizing our efficiency, hence our sustainability through advanced methods of production, and eventually providing for literally the entire human species if we put our mind to it and overcome all the traditionalized barriers that are stopping us because of this traditionalized notion we think is empirical in society.
Okay, so you're calling for something really untraditional, but what is it? I mean, it kind of sounds like getting rid of capitalism and putting in what?
Well, you can give it names. It's about appreciating a train of thought about what we're doing and how it can actually benefit human society and create the best public health and safety, providing for as many people on the planet as possible. So if you can give it a name, you can call it a resource-based economy or a resource-based economic model, because really what is the foundation of human society? It's resources. It's resources not only of the physical gold, food, and all of those attributes, it's also the mental resource. We have people living their lives wasting their lives as secretaries, wasting their lives in industries that don't produce anything, such as Wall Street and advertising. Can you tell me what they're actually producing that actually helps anybody directly? There really isn't anything. These are filler concepts that actually don't contribute. So if you take the approach that we live off of resources and you organize those resources, you make the most efficient production system you can based on what technical knowledge allows us to do, scientific understanding. You reorient society to let people actually engage in occupations that actually do something instead of spending all of our taking all of our scientists and putting them on military operations right now. They could be using that same engineering resource and mental capacity to benefit all the world's people and create a material abundance. No one could ever be starving on this planet. This is statistically proven, by the way, even with the current inefficiencies we have now. So to summarize, we have a resource-based economic model. It's a ground-up approach to resource management, and we make everything as efficient and productive as possible technically. Okay. No monetary evaluation, no monetary association, because all that does is interfere and cause more problems and limit our possibility. I
want to keep this conversation going because I do want to hit on a number of things here. What about government? What does that look like? And well, what about individual freedoms?
Well, let's ask yourself a question. What is individual freedom? Is walking into a job that you probably had no control over in the sense of your necessity for income, more or less a private dictatorship that people go into from 9 to 5? Is that freedom? Is freedom what you get money for to go and buy? Is it your freedom to go into a store and pick between 28 different varieties of cereal that you can choose from? What is freedom?
Maybe
the system that we talk about, if you...
Go ahead.
The system that we speak of actually will enable